Welcome to our video series, Hiding Behind the Mask, Conversations on Shame and Narcissism, combining psychological and spiritual perspectives. This is a 12-part series moderated by Dr. Kristen Seavey and featuring the insight of Reverend Robert Hirschfield, Episcopal Bishop of New Hampshire, and Dr. Patricia Gianotti, clinical psychologist and author. Each video segment will begin with a brief introduction by Dr. Seavey, where she will describe an overview of the content material. At the end of each section, a set of questions will appear on your screen. These questions are meant for personal reflection, or you may use the questions as a springboard for small group discussion. We hope you enjoy this series. And now, Dr. Seavey.
This section continues to address what leaders of institutions can do to address bullying behavior, and will illustrate techniques for speaking up when we observe something bad happening to ourselves or someone else.
And this is directed more to people who make decisions around the running of institutions, and they have a bad leader in a top position of power who's doing egregious ethical violations. And not just the church, but in every institution, there's some belief that if you don't deal with it and try to cover it up, that it's going to go away or it's going to get better. It never gets better, and it doesn't go away. And just because the media hasn't gotten attention and blasted it on the airwaves yet, it doesn't mean that the people who are living in those institutions and seeing that leader not having to take some kind of accountability for their actions is a way that undermines and erodes something in such a basic way and such an unnecessary way. If you see something that is really an egregious violation, act quickly. Fix it quickly. Make it better quickly. Because that reinstills safety. If you don't respond, then you begin to lose trust in the institution, in the people making decisions. But if you act quickly and you take some kind of action, people can recover. They can rise and have more confidence again. And that is actually a very simple thing that we can all begin doing, actually. As leaders in institutions and in organizations and in our communities, what are we waiting for? Act quickly about things that we know are egregious violations.
One of the social ills that is also getting a lot of press lately is just bullying in general in schools, and schools are trying to handle it, I think, in that way that you're describing more swiftly.
Yes.
Patricia, you illustrated for me as we talked about this nonviolent communication principles that I think might be useful to talk to folks about in terms of how I encounter a bully in my life every few weeks, I think, or somebody at a grocery store or whatever.
Yeah, we've encountered some,
Right, so empowering everyone to sort of find a way to not bully back, but to speak up to that energy and, as you were saying, respond with love or respond with an alternative.
As Susan's example was, yes, how do you breathe it in and then somehow find a way to respond with love? And that breathing it in is taking that pause and finding a way not to be reactive. So a bully is coming at you, and we want to do something and we want to respond, but we do not want to respond in kind, because that's not going to make anything better. So I think Dan Siegel talks about taking that pause, breathing in, and it allows your brain to kind of reset, so your cognitions and your emotions can be firing together. And so what comes out of your mouth is something that is purposeful and intentional. But what I sometimes teach some of my clients is what we call the two hands of nonviolence, and I learned this from a friend of mine who is a peace activist. And so the two hands of nonviolence go like this. If something bad is happening, you say stop. And you say stop clearly. But you don't just say stop. You extend your hand in connection, and you offer something in kind. So an example of that might be a patient of mine was telling me the other week, month, year, 10 years from now, a repeated story. My husband is emotionally abusing me. He gets agitated, he just explodes. And I cower, and I can't say anything, and I don't know what to do, and I'm just so tired of it. So I say, so what are you afraid will happen if you speak up, or have you tried speaking up? I have, and it just escalates it, and he gets worse. So that's the dilemma that causes the shutdown. So the two hands of nonviolence would be to say, stop. I don't deserve to be spoken to in this way. I know you've had a hard day, but you cannot talk to me in this way. I want to reach out to you, and I want to be there for you, and I want to help you with whatever's bothering you. But you cannot be attacking me and talking to me in that way. I'm here for you. We've had this conversation before, but you continue to do this, and it needs to stop, because you need to know that if you continue, what ends up happening is I am going to distance from you. And I am distancing from you. And I don't want to distance from you. I want us to connect. So that is a double communication where you're saying stop very clearly. You're saying what you want. You're giving the consequence around what's happening to me inside if you don't stop. And let's do something different. And we can apply that formula to political discussions, to people we run into in the supermarket, to people in your congregations.
Vestry meetings.
Vestry meetings.
Vestry meetings.
The following questions are meant to stimulate personal reflection or small group discussion. We encourage you to capture a screenshot of these questions and use them for future reference. To order Dr. Gianotti's books, please contact the following websites. And Reverend Hirschfield's book is available through churchpublishing.org.